federal government has launched a 590 billion naira bond to settle part of the 4 trillion naira debt owed to power generation companies, that's GenCos, in Nigeria. The bond, part of a wider 4 trillion naira NBET Finance Company PLC bond program, is guaranteed by the federal government and comprises 300 billion naira in cash bonds and 290 billion in non-cash bonds. The 7-year bond has a fixed coupon rate, semi-annual interest payments, and will be amortized over its lifespan. Repayment will be funded primarily through the national budget, with NBET's recoveries from discos serving as a secondary source. Joining us now to break this down, we have Victor Aluyi, co-managing partner at Aztran Global Investments. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you in.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, always a pleasure. Obviously, this is more borrowing to pay off debt. But what are the implications of this federal government's 590 billion naira bond issuance on Nigeria's debt profile? Is there a possibility of a fatigue setting in for investors, or could it be oversubscribed? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think that the appetite for Nigerian paper, you have to understand that over the last couple of years, we have essentially turned a corner, if you will. Just about a week, 2 weeks ago, thereabouts, our credit rating was upgraded by Fitch, notable upgrades in the course of the last year. Our appetite, I think, it will remain strong. Since this is fairly subscribed, if not oversubscribed, and that's the reasons I've created room to take 0.2 trillion. They're likely to tilt toward bond issuance. Really, bond issuance may
Okay. Looks like we're struggling to hear you, but hopefully we're able to get back to this conversation. A major step to resolving Nigeria's power sector issues with the payment of this long-standing debt through bond issuance. We'll continue this conversation in just a moment. Stay tuned. All right, the federal government issues bonds, 590 billion bond issuance on Nigeria's. We're looking at the impact on Nigeria's debt profile. Obviously, this is targeted towards the repayment of the debt towards the GenCos. It's just the first, would I say, tranche. We've been speaking with Victor Aluyi, and of course, thank you for staying with us. You have shared your views and perspectives on, perhaps it being oversubscribed. And I think right now the question would be, what's the appeal to investors on this bond?
Yeah, I think it's quite appealing. Like I said, it's essentially a federal government bond, right? Because, like you highlighted, it's backed by the full faith of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Highlighted earlier, from a macro perspective, the Nigerian story has improved over the last couple of years. The last 2 years, thereabouts, we've seen very marked improvement in them, investor appeal, and that remains. So this will not be an exception. The fact that it's an NBET bond or a power sector bond does not change the fact that this is backed by the full faith of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And like I was saying before we went off earlier, at the heart of this is the government's attempt to try and resolve,
All right. It would be interesting to pick up this conversation, but obviously this particular bond seems to have some appeal or considerable amount of appeal to investors from what you're saying. And just to pick up from there, we know that this has been described as a game changer for some of the financial issues that the sector has faced, that is the power sector. Do you agree? Is this bond issuance, is it a sustainable solution to the power sector's financial crisis? What are your thoughts on that? Do you see it creating more problems in the future or a trend that cannot be sustained?
I think it's a step in the right direction. The truth of the matter is that this power sector issue, this debt issue in the power sector has been there since 2015 and has essentially continued to grow. It's currently sitting at about 4 trillion. It has continued to grow. It has continued to bedevil the ability of the power infrastructure. I mean, you're well aware of all of the grid collapses that we always have. That is just as a result of the fact that there isn't fresh investment in the sector for new infrastructure. So this bond is first of all aimed at taking away all of that debt that has been accumulated, in that sector, and also freeing up participants or stakeholders ensures that we have a virile power sector. The truth of the matter is that it's not an easy solution, but I think it is a step in the right direction.
And do you also see this as, you have, of course, highlighted that the sector has lacked ample investment over the past couple of years. Do you see this as a mode through which, in the future they could gather more investment for the sector?
Absolutely. I think that's what I highlighted earlier, right? The issue for the GenCos and the DSCos has been the fact that you have quite a lot of receivables. So, and that was why the initial stage of this reform was what you refer to as cost-reflected tariffs. There's still some way to go on that, which would help the receivables within the sector. But what this bond does is to ensure that this, yoke, if you will, power sector is essentially taken away. And once that happens, once the power sector begins to feel some relief or reprieve, if you will, it then sets things right. It ensures that the right environment is created. It ensures that the right value within the power sector is created. And that would also engender a situation where the investment environment in the power sector becomes really attractive. It's not an easy solution.
All right. As you have pointed out, it may not be the easy solution, but it's a way out, if you can put it that way. And are there any potential risks that you'd say are associated with the bond repayment structure, and how can, if there are, how can it be fixed or mitigated?
Is backed by the full faith of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or the federal government, takes away. So this is not NBET's risk. It's not the GenCos risk. It's the risk of the federal government of Nigeria. So it's essentially, this question is almost like what risks are associated with the federal government repaying on its FGN bonds. So the risk is really, really significantly reduced by the fact that by the full faith of the federal government.
All right. I mean, hopefully we're able to get more out of this conversation, and as this progresses, and of course we'll be tracking developments with this bond issuance. It's being handled by Cardinal Stone. They're serving as lead issuing house and financial advisor. And yes, the Series 1 bond, there's several facts that are stated, and of course it's something we can go through much later. But thank you so much for your time, Victor Aluyi, co-managing partner, Aztran Global Investments.